It's Wednesday, April 15th. In the headlines, the University Hospital of the West Indies owes over $40 billion in taxes. In business news, Jamaica's gaming industry seeing significant growth. Regionally, Education Minister defends population remarks in St. Lucia. And in sports, the International Cricket Council announces record prize pool for 2026 Women's T20 World Cup. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. The University Hospital of the West Indies owes more than $40 billion in unpaid taxes and fees to government agencies, with the figure falling to just over $18 billion excluding interest and penalties. The disclosure was made during Tuesday's sitting of the Public Accounts Committee. According to Acting Chief Executive Officer Eric Hussein, the figure drops to over $18 billion when interest and penalties are excluded. He told Chairman Julian Robinson that the debt has accumulated over several years.
Do you have an age of that debt, meaning how long has that debt been running for?
I don't have the exact date, but it has been over several years.
Mr. Hussein notes that while the hospital is now up to date with payments to the National Insurance Scheme and the National Housing Trust.
Is there a payment plan that has been worked out with TAJ?
No, Mr. Chair.
So you have no payment plan, but you say you have an up-to-date TCC without a payment plan?
We have a temporary TCC, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Hussein says the hospital's TCC will expire next month.
It expires on May 6th. It is in terms of tax compliance, as I shared at the last meeting, that we are owing a significant amount of funds to the government for taxes.
What is the figure that is owed by the hospital to the government of Jamaica? No, man, go ahead. You're speaking to me.
Oh, sorry.
No, man, go ahead.
It is in excess of the amount owing to TAJ and other agencies is in excess of $40 billion.
40 billion?
That is correct.
The committee has requested additional details from the hospital, including a breakdown of the debt and the period which it was accumulated. Mayor of Kingston, Andrew Swaby, is raising concerns about the government's proposed One Road Authority, warning that it may not solve the country's road maintenance challenges. Cabinet recently approved a policy framework for the One Road Authority, or ORA, which is expected to regulate road standards and performance across the island. Denida Rodney tells us more.
The body will fall under the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development and will be rolled out in 2 phases. The first phase will span 90 days to develop the legislative and operational framework, followed by a 24-month implementation period. While welcoming the move to improve coordination and consistency in road management, Swaby argues that the proposal does not address the long-standing issue of inadequate funding. He says there is also a lack of clarity on how local authorities will access increased financial support from central government.
If we are to deliver improved outcomes, local authority must be properly resourced, both financially and technically. These are critical issues that must be addressed if the authority is to achieve the intended objectives.
Mayor Swaby cautioned that without addressing funding and staffing gaps, the effectiveness of the One Road Authority could be limited, though he welcomed ongoing consultations and the involvement of local authorities in the process.
Historically, central government would provide funding for these established posts. However, Subsequent to the recent salary increase and reclassification of some positions on the establishment, the KSAMC has seen a significant reduction in funding from central government.
China has successfully lifted over 800 million people out of poverty under President Xi Jinping's leadership. This exemplifies the power of strategic planning, political will, and targeted development. This model offers valuable lessons for nations like Jamaica, striving for sustainable growth and social equity. Marlon Samuels has that story.
When China launched its 14th five-year plan, China's President Xi Jinping made poverty alleviation a top priority. Through a comprehensive approach, China has reportedly managed to transform its economic landscape, lifting over 800 million people out of hardship.
First, per people improve the agricultural productivity, and the income from agriculture increased in the first 20 years from early 1980s to later 1990s. And after 2000, per people actually actively participate in China's industrialization process. So they migrate to urban areas, to eastern part of China, to get job opportunities for higher payment and then increase the income. The second the way to help the poor is to launch direct poverty reduction programs. China identified per county, per village, and in the last few years, even per household, to help those per region or per household to escape poverty. So all those measures together, China have bring over 800 million people out of poverty in the past 4 decades.
This journey was driven by long-term strategic planning, focusing on infrastructure, social welfare, and economic modernization. Investments in agriculture, industry, innovation, and technology created millions of jobs, improved living standards, and expanded access to education and healthcare.
We have a very strong party, the CPC, and to mobilize all the resources to implement all these kind of policies that set in this poverty alleviation campaign. So because we need to have a strong governance to this kind of policy implementation and to mobilize all these resources for the poverty alleviation campaign. And second, of course, is about industrialization, because we know every sector, they need to industrialize. And for example, for the agricultural modernization, we need more machineries to be put into this kind of resources to lift all these kind of grain productions and also to tackle all this climate change. And the third, I think, is about the market liberalization, because now we know for China, we have this kind of every 5 year, we have this 5-year plan. That is kind of a comprehensive strategy to tackle all this problem and to think about this kind of poverty alleviation from a more broader and more comprehensive perspective. You need to have developed the market, and you need to have to develop the logistics, all these kind of industries to support this poverty alleviation and to let those people who get rich will not be poor again.
Key initiatives like rural electrification, the development of transportation, and social safety nets played crucial roles in ensuring inclusive growth.
And one of the key parts is about the high-tech parts, because we know for today's world, you need AI, you need the robotics, you need the highly efficient innovations to boost your economy and to bring more benefits to the public. So I think the future industries are the key achievements we have achieved during the past 5 years, and that's why in the 15th five-year plan, China has always prioritized the development of the future industries.
China actually, it's the first country to already have achieved the UN SDG poverty reduction goal 10 years ahead of time. And China also contributed contribute over 70% of the global poverty reduction.
China's focus on sustainable development demonstrates how committed government intervention can eradicate poverty and foster economic resilience.
I think two parts. One is about the poverty alleviation campaign, and the second part for China Caribbean countries to collaborate is the green transition. We know China is already the world's largest country that was powered by green power. That means solar, wind, and also other renewable energies. And we know for the many Caribbean countries, especially for those island economies, the climate change, to tackle the climate change is one of the top priority. And how to use this kind of green development is another part. So all these parts shall be combined and integrated in the poverty alleviation campaign. And China's experience in tackle all these issues, especially in the poverty alleviation, could give some hints to our Caribbean friends.
For countries like Jamaica, this offers a powerful lesson. With clear vision, strategic planning, and targeted investments, it's possible to achieve meaningful social transformation and reduce inequality. Reporting for the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
In the business report, Jamaica's gaming industry has expanded significantly over the past 5 years, with the number of gaming machines more than doubling across the island. The Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission says the rapid growth is now prompting stronger regulatory reforms to improve oversight and transparency. Director of Enforcement Noel Baki notes that machines have increased from about 15,000 in 2021 to more than 34,000 today, underscoring the need for tighter controls to protect the integrity of the sector and the wider financial system. Chairman Ryan Reid adds that operators have been given a transition period to meet new requirements under the upgraded system, which is expected to bring a greater order, accountability, and structure to the industry. Global growth is being downgraded as war in the Middle East threatens a major energy crisis and drives up oil and commodity prices worldwide. New projections show rising inflation and tighter financial conditions could slow the global economy this year, with policymakers urged to prepare for rising risks. The details were outlined at a recent International Monetary Fund World Economic Outlook briefing by Chief Economist Pierre-Olivier Goinchas. Denise Williams now brings us the latest market snapshot and foreign exchange brief.
For the trading period of April 14, 2026, the most actively traded securities were Sagicor Group Jamaica Limited with 5,784,164 units, representing 24.57% of market sales activities. Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 3,336,904 units, representing 14.17% of market sales activities. Kintyre Holdings Jamaica Limited with 2,795,204 units, representing 11.87% of market sales activities. Investor activity remained concentrated in finance, conglomerates, and transportation plays, signaling continued interest in dividend-producing and strategic assets. Turning to the foreign exchange market, based on Bank of Jamaica data for April 14, 2026, Forex traders recorded significant activity with strong demand across major currencies. For the US dollar, trading margins reflected steady liquidity, with the US selling at $157 and buying at $159.32. For the Canadian dollar, moderate gains supported by $1.39 transaction spreads. The Canadian dollar sold for $115.67 and was bought for $114.28. For the British pound, continued volatility offers short-term trading opportunities of $1.72 in profits for the banks. The British pound sold for $212.31 and was bought for $214.03. These movements underscore the importance of cash flow timing and currency awareness for businesses managing import costs, debt servicing, or overseas exposure. For the credit report tip of the day, if you only reach out to your banker when you need money, you're making things harder than they need to be. As for how often you should meet with your banker, think about staying visible. At minimum, check in every quarter so your banker stays familiar with your business. If you're growing, making big moves, or planning to borrow, meet more often, monthly if needed, so that nothing slows you down. This system doesn't have to be complicated. You just need one place where your key numbers live: your income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, what people owe you, what you owe others, and any loans you have already booked. Keep it updated regularly so you always know where you stand and can explain clearly. At the end of the day, this is about staying ready. When your numbers are clear and your banker already understands your business, decisions happen faster and you're in a stronger position when opportunities come up. And that's today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing clarity to capital, markets, and strategy. Until next time, stay informed, stay intentional, and keep building forward. See you soon.
In regional news, St. Lucia's education minister is pushing back against criticism over comments encouraging population growth, saying his remarks were taken out of context. Minister Kenson Casimir says the call comes as new census data from the Central Statistical Office shows slowing population growth and shrinking household sizes in St. Lucia. Veneta Phillip reports.
There was a particular station that posted a very 0.5% of a statement I made about populating our country, and they put a caption that was so far removed from the actual report. I was absolutely stunned at that level of journalism still happening in St. Lucia. And I would say it was disappointing.
As global birth rates slide, a growing chorus of officials are urging families to have more children wherever financially sustainable to shield economies from future instability. In St. Lucia, the Central Statistical Office's CSO 2022 census captured this cooling trend. Although the population rose from 166,526 in 2010 to 172,948 in 2022, the growth rate decelerated from 5% to 3.9%. The education minister recently moved to clarify his stance on boosting the island's population, attributing the decline to modern family planning and suggesting his earlier appeals were stripped of their nuance.
Most of the islands are telling you that we are seeing population trends going in an opposite direction. And that's for years. We have more contraception, we have more family planning, we have more programs for women to actually decide better when they're going to have children. I said in that statement, and I'm going to say it again, I, Kenson Casimir, have taken my responsibility to ensure that I contribute to the next generation of St. Lucians. I have my twin girls. I'm very proud of them. They've been productive individuals. And I would decide whether or not, based on my financial position, whether I should have more children. And I would say the same thing to all St. Lucians.
The census further highlighted a contraction in the domestic sphere as average household sizes dipped from 2.8 people in 2010 to 2.6 in 2022. Minister Kenson Kazime argued that citizens can help arrest this decline by raising more children if their means allow, citing the availability of state-funded maternal health services.
I will say it again. If you can afford, I will say it again, if you can afford to have more children contribute to the economy of this country, then by all means, as the Minister of Education, I encourage you to do so. This is the government that has put in place free ultrasounds for women when they're pregnant, and all the dynamics of a better healthcare system for making more children.
The minister also connected the birth shortfall to thinning school rosters. He outlined a Department of Education strategy to merge smaller classes while introducing a curriculum focused on specialized skills.
We realize that there are opportunities for us to refocus or focus on different aspects to education based on the fact that we do have these numbers. So for instance, if you have a classroom that is right now filling in 10 children and another classroom 10, what we are going to do is we are going to move them into one class and then use the other class for something like special education. So you can have a program at the school where you have a special ed teacher and you move those that need that particular level of teaching into those classrooms. The same thing in terms of TVET education, identifying those individuals that are gravitating towards technological vocational studies, and you use the classroom for that level of teaching.
Kazime insisted that vacant school facilities must be reclaimed for new initiatives. He noted that these centers will be staffed by behavioral counselors who are tasked with aligning student attitudes with the demand of a modern workforce. Vanetta Phillip for the HTS News Force.
Trinidad and Tobago's partial scope trade agreement with Chile is gaining support in the Senate, with lawmakers backing legislation expected to boost exports and drive economic growth. The agreement, signed in April last year, will give local manufacturers and exporters preferential duty-free access to one of Latin America's most dynamic markets. TTT News brings us the details.
The partial scope trade agreement bill between Trinidad and Tobago and the Republic of Chile received support in the Senate on Tuesday. The legislation is expected to drive economic growth by giving local manufacturers and exporters preferential duty access to one of Latin America's most dynamic markets. Speaking during the debate on the bill in the Senate, Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs Sean Sobers said Chile remains a key trading partner and one of Trinidad and Tobago's important Latin American markets.
The average total exports from TNT to Chile over the period 2020 to 2024 are estimated at approximately Trinidad and Tobago $710.6 million per annum. This includes energy exports, which average approximately $706.3 million annually, and non-energy exports, which average approximately $4.4 million annually.
The agreement, which was signed in April 2025, is expected to further expand both energy and non-energy exports.
The agreement provides for preferential market access for more of Trinidad and Tobago's exports. More local goods will be allowed into Chile without incurring custom duties, that is zero duties, and assist in Trinidad and Tobago's efforts to increase both energy and non-energy exports as part of the government's continued trade expansion and economic diversification efforts.
Opposition Senator Dr. Amory Brown also supported the bill, pointing to significant opportunities for local manufacturers.
There's great strategic potential, and even with respect to our manufacturing sector, or food and beverage sector, etc., those who make fruit juices and so on, it's not just necessarily a target market, but potentially a good source of inputs and raw materials as well. So I just want to give some perspective that this is important for our future. There's also, you see, when, as the trade specialists would know, when you open doors of trade, other avenues are also open.
Independent Senator Dr. Marlene Arts also voiced her support. but cautioned that manufacturers must be adequately prepared to take advantage of the agreement.
We need to ensure that our manufacturers will participate in this agreement. They are in a position, they are export ready, and they are in a position to capitalize on this opportunity. Again, I state unequivocally that I support any arrangement that seeks to improve the well-being of our citizens, but we must ensure, Mr. President, that such arrangements truly deliver on that promise.
Debate on the bill has been adjourned and is expected to continue next Tuesday, April 21st. Faith Chariot, TTT News.
In sports, we hit the stumps with cricket. The International Cricket Council, ICC, has announced a record prize pool for the upcoming ICC Women's T20 World Cup, with a 10% increase over the 2024 tournament. The 2026 edition is set to be held in England and Wales from June 12 to July 5, and it will feature total prize money of $8.76 million, up from approximately $7.96 million, shared among teams in the previous tournament. For the first time, the competition will include 12 teams. The tournament winners will receive $2.34 million, while the runners-up will earn $1.17 million. Losing semi-finalists will each collect $675,000. Teams will also earn $31,154 for every group stage win. And all participating nations are guaranteed a minimum payout of $247,500. Still on cricket, Trinidad and Tobago Red Force has wrapped up a dominant victory over the Leeward Islands Hurricanes, winning by 271 runs in their opening match of the 2026 West Indies Championship at the Coolidge Cricket Ground in Antigua. It was a day that belonged to Amir Jangu and Terence Hines, who both reached personal milestones.
And Hines picked up right where they left off on day 2, and the Hurricanes bowlers had no answers. Jangu was imperious, bringing up a maiden first-class double century, while Hines joined the party with his maiden first-class 100. The pair combined for a mammoth 298-run stand before the Red Force declared on 507 for 5, setting the Hurricanes a target of 369 just to make them bat again. But the chase never got started. Carrie Pierre ran through the Leeward Islands batting order, claiming 4 for 37 as the Hurricanes were bundled out for just 98. Only skipper Justin Graves with 56 and Daniel Doram with 16 offered any resistance.
And that's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thank you so much for making it the People's Station.